Christ and Culture. I want to welcome you all to the broadcast. I hope everybody's doing really well today. It is Easter Tuesday. Yeah, Easter Tuesday. And many of us, the world over, celebrated Easter over the weekend. And it was a glorious day. Hopefully your church, the place where you're at, was just full to the brim. That was my prayer, and our whole church's prayer, is that every church was just packed to the rafters, and that people got saved left and right, and boogers and the whole thing. It was one of those things, where everybody got just full of Jesus. And so now we're on the backside of it, and some big news happened already this week. We're going to get to talk about that in just a second. But I just wanted to remind everybody that we do have our YouTube channel up and running. I'm going to go to our YouTube channel right now and make sure. And if you would like to get in on the broadcast, go ahead and check us out. We'd love to have you in on the broadcast. You can go to our YouTube channel, which is Christ&Culture Show. That's Christ and, which is like an and signed, and Culture Show. And go ahead and subscribe to it. Yeah, go ahead and subscribe to it. Or if you'd like, you can go ahead and write to us at Christ&Culture Show @gmail.com. Let's bring Pastor Tommy on. Pastor Tommy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Pastor Sherman. How are you?
Good. Yeah. So many of you know Pastor Tommy and I are co-hosting the show, and we come to you once a week, talk to you about, what's going on in the world, and which is just crazy sometimes. It makes you wonder. Pastor Tommy, first and foremost, how was Easter for you?
It was good. It was good. We didn't have the turnout that we wanted because Easter is the day that everybody and literally everybody and their mama literally comes to church.
Yeah.
But it was all the same normal people. But yeah, it was good. So yeah, still fun though.
Well, good. I'll tell you, we had the same sort of thing. We actually had a very small turnout, but that's kind of the way the nation is now. A lot of churches are going through the same sort of thing, and so we're praying that things change. I mean, completely change.
Yes.
And I've actually got some good news. I really do. I'm gonna share it right now. As a matter of fact, we are actually moving our location of our church, and we have been in the same location for about a year. And we're a startup church, and we started up in my home, and then we moved to what do they call it? A clubhouse. So we're in a clubhouse. We're really blessed, so blessed to be in a clubhouse. It's wonderful, next to a pool and barbecue and the whole thing. But we were kind of landlocked in that place, and so we are actually going to be moving to just in a few more weeks to Garside Middle School. So we'll be in a middle school now, and the middle school is brand new. I mean, it hasn't even opened yet. It's not even complete yet. Brand new middle school. And it's called Garside Middle School in their theater. So they have a theater with a stage on it, that kind of thing. And so plenty of parking right on Torrey Pines and basically the 95 or Alta, that area. If you're coming to Las Vegas, 300 South Torrey Pines, okay? 300 South Torrey Pines. It'll be in a couple of weeks. We'll actually kind of make everybody aware of it when we do it. So, and Pastor Tommy, I'm going to have you speak at our church. I'm really inviting you. I'm going to put that out here right now. I'm going to invite you to come out and speak and give us all a treat, man.
Yeah, I would love that. We got to come and pray before you open, do like a groundbreaking ceremony.
That's it. Groundbreaking and christening. I'm very, very excited about that. We'll bring some of the guys from the NACM out and be able to, bless the whole thing. So I'm very, very excited about that. So I thought I'd air that now. So you're the first folks that know about this. Okay, it's been I'll have to tell you the little story about it in just a couple of minutes here, but it's a very interesting story too. But before we get, oh yeah, it was very exciting. But before we go too far, big news: Pope Francis died. Um, thanks. So Easter weekend. I mean, Easter weekend. Vice President J.D. Vance went and visited him, and then like literally the next day, he has a stroke, heart attack, dies the next day at 88 years of age. So many of you know who the Pope is. Pope Francis is the leader of the Catholic Church in America and around the world. And so, Pastor Tommy, your your reaction when you've heard about the Pope dying.
Yeah, I was shocked, but not shocked,
Mm-hmm.
um, because I know he had been in the hospital for like a month. I think
Mm-hmm.
it was a while. Um, but yeah, it's one of those things that where anytime anyone passes away, it's a shock. Even if it's expected, it's still a
Mm-hmm.
shock because a person has died.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I just thought it was peculiar that not peculiar, that's not the right word, but it was something to be noted that Vice President Vance got a chance to see him the day before.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know that he had wanted to do that, his whole life basically, and he got a chance to do that the day before he passed away. So, yeah, it's quite an interesting thing. This is my, I think, third or fourth pope in my life
Mm-hmm.
that has passed away.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Yeah, and so Pope Francis was a seminal figure. So, and I mean, I say that um, not as somebody who was particularly a fan of the Pope or anything like that, but he made some decisions that people are going, wow, peculiar. Well, and before we get into that, let's talk about what the man did. I mean, the man was, he was the man. I mean, he was the man for the Catholic Church, and as such, uh, devoted his life to the papacy, devoted his life to ministry and stuff like that. And but when he came in, he was like almost the um, the liberal the liberal pope. I mean, he really did some of the things that he did, and people were going, "Wait a minute, you're kind of diverging away from orthodoxy here." One of the things that he was known for was his, and he was the love guy, so he was really love and friendship and holiness, and wonderful. That was wonderful. Okay, but one of the things he did was he basically said, "Hey, he wanted to, you know, put his blessing on homosexual marriage," and you go, "Oh." Uh, your reaction to that? So homosexual marriage, the LGBTQ thing, DEI. He was really into DEI. He had no problem with open borders here, and especially in America, right? I'm wondering. Um, do, so Pastor Tommy, what do you think? Because right now they're going to go into conclave, which means they're going to be deciding on the new guy. What do you think are going to be some of the characteristics of the new guy in view of what the old guy was like? What do you think?
that's an interesting question because Pope Francis was actually the first Jesuit pope,
Mm.
and I was thinking that he's probably not going to be the last.
Mm.
And the fact that you brought out he was liberal in his views and the decisions that he's made, um, it kind of puts me in the mindset of he set it up for the next pope
Mm.
to come in and take it even farther than he
Mm.
established it. He was like the groundbreaking for the new way, the new order, and so it's going to be very interesting to see um, who actually comes in, the kind of characteristics that they're looking for. I'm not sure anymore because conservatism um, in the high ranking places of the Catholic Church is kind of like non-existent right now. So what to expect? That's beyond my knowledge at this point.
Well, well, I've been listening to these pastors. I've been listening to some of the talking heads in the Catholic movement. And now, here's the thing about it: is the Catholic Church is if you're talking about a mega church, it's the Catholic Church. I mean, they're huge, and they are known throughout the entire world. It's not as though anybody doesn't know who Catholics are. I was raised Catholic, so I mean, I was raised Catholic before I became a born again Christian. Many people were.
Me too.
You too. And
Yeah.
so here's the deal, though. For all of the things that are gone right with the Catholic Church, you had a lot of things going wrong with the Catholic Church. I mean, and then you bring in this, over the last number of years, Pope Francis, and he is like, oh my gosh, this guy. I mean, him and Donald Trump are like button heads on things because of the whole border issue, and then DEI came along, and he's like going, yeah, let's do the whole DEI thing, and let's do the. I'm wondering if the guys who are going to be going into conclave, when they go in to start, thinking about this. So let's do two things. So one, most of these guys that are going in, these cardinals that are going to go in and start talking to each other, most of them don't know each other. The Pope picked, I think, of the 130, 140, or whatever it is, 150 cardinals. He picked like 113 or 132 or something. It was a large number of these cardinals that he brought in. He brought them from all over the world. He did it on purpose. He wanted to have people who represent this particular people, those particular people that had never been a part of the whole thing. And he was shaking things up, right? So most of these guys are going to go in there. They're going to have these meetings. One, I'm really surprised about that. One, and number two is that these guys, I think they're going to look at it and going, I don't know if the church can handle this. To have all of this liberalism in the church. I mean, we've got to get it back on square ground. So, Pastor, I'm gonna throw it back in your court again. What do you think was the thinking behind picking all of these cardinals who have no idea what's going on, knowing that this guy's an old guy as it is? Do you think he did it on purpose?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Mm.
I do think he did it on purpose because in order to change the establishment the way that it has been for centuries,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have to bring in new blood to influence them, to spend time with them, to indoctrinate them, or however you want to put it, to prepare them, because he knew he wasn't going to live forever,
Mm-hmm.
to prepare them for the next step. So, you brought up an interesting fact, is that a lot of people are more conservative. Um, but let me tell you what I see happening. Because he was loved so much, they were willing to accept the compromise. They were willing to accept the change. Um,
Mm.
and because of that, it's easier to continue down that same vein. And whoever is selected, it's just my personal opinion that whoever is selected is going to be very likable. They're going to be able to win over the people, and they're going to continue down that same vein and possibly take it even further. It wouldn't surprise me if it's someone under the age of 60 years old.
Mm. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either because they need somebody who's a little younger. I, do you think so? Some of the people think it's going to be Cardinal Dolan, the guy who's
From
in
from
the guy
New
who's
York.
in New York. They think it's going to be him. Can you imagine that? That all of a sudden this guy goes walking around because he's pretty laid back. Hey, what's up, you guys? Come on, and He's lounging around because he does a lot of lounging. Oh, hey, let's lounge around a little bit, and takes off his hat and throws it on the ground or something like that. I, I gotta believe that they're gonna pick somebody conservative. I just gotta believe it, because they've gone through so much in the last couple of years, with just the butting of heads, and I think a lot of the people who are downstream, a lot of the dioceses that are downstream, they're going, wait a minute, dude, we don't want to go the way of the Lutheran Church or the Methodist Church. The Methodist Church, which is embracing the LGBTQ thing, and I don't think that they're going to really want to go down that road. So we will keep an eye on this story. It is going to be it's going to be very big, because it's going to have effect. There's like what, 1 billion Catholics worldwide. Yeah, there's a lot of Catholics worldwide. So, so let's shift gears just a little bit. There was a story, and many of us know all about this story about this guy, this MS-13 guy, and this is nuts. I can't even believe we're actually talking about this. This is a story. This is a Breitbart story. It's also a story about on the AP. Everybody's talking about this. San Salvador, four House Democrats are traveling down to El Salvador to call attention to the plight of a man Trump administration deported to the San Salvadorian prison and has refused to help return. So you've got from Arizona, you've got an Oregon, you've got somebody from Florida, and you've got somebody from California. They arrived Sunday in Central America to speak to the guy's name is Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And so what is going on, and many of you have been watching this happen over the last few weeks, is the Trump administration has empowered ICE and Homeland Security to go and start sweeping up these guys, sweeping up gang members, ne'er-do-wells, all these guys. And in one of the sweeps, they picked up this guy. They called him what did they call him, a Maryland man? The Maryland dad, right? They might as well call him, the sweet Maryland man, right? Come to find out, this guy is actually an MS-13 wannabe, beat his wife. They put him in jail down in El Salvador. And then you have a congressman, what's the guy's name? I forgot the first guy's name. Chris Van Hollen, I think is his name.
Yes, yes.
So he went down there and on taxpayers' money and went down there to plead this guy's case. Now, so first, Pastor Tommy, we'll dig into it in just a second. What are your thoughts about this guy being in El Salvador in a supermax prison?
Well, he should have known it was coming. Mm-hmm. I'm asking the question: why such a big deal of this guy? He got picked up. He's got priors. He's affiliated. The court said twice that he's affiliated with the gang. The president in the country of which he is incarcerated in says, no, I'm not going to let him come. So, I mean, and he's a citizen of that country.
He's a citizen of that country, sure. Yeah. Yeah, they did a man on the street thing about this, and they asked the folks in the hood, okay? So here's if you want a simple answer to a question, go to the brothers in the hood, man. Say, hey, brother, what do you think about this? And they'll go, what? He did what? So they went down and they asked 4 or 5 brothers and sisters in the hood, and they said, this guy is MS-13. He's a known terrorist, beat his wife, and he got what do you think we should do to him? And to a man, they all said, get him out of here. Okay. Second thing, they said, well, you have a congressman that went down there to plead his case. And they go, what? On my money? Are you kidding me? So it was across the board. It didn't even have to matter if it was black, white, or anything. Everybody said the same thing. No, absolutely not. This guy should not be here in this country. All right, so that was just one congressman. Now you have 4 more congressmen that are going down there to try to plead this guy's case. My question to you, Pastor Tommy, is what is wrong with the Democrats in our country?
That's the question right there.
Yeah, that's the question,
That
right?
is really the question. They have lost their minds. I mean, the president of that country said no.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
He's a gang member in that country, and he locked up 80,000 or something like that gang members in that country, and he built a prison specifically for those gang members in that country. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know what they're trying to do.
Yeah, the story first started. They described this guy as a Maryland man, right? It was the Maryland guy. He's a father. He's got a couple of niños, right? And he's got a wife. And then the story turned. They go, well, now it's about civil rights. This guy is due process, right? And I go, so which one is it? Is he a Maryland man? So the one thing they've not denied, MS-13. They've never denied this guy's an MS-13 guy, right? Yeah. So they call this, and they keep referring to the 80-20 issues. 80% of the people agree with you. This is a 20% issue. And now they're saying, no, this is a 95-5. 95% of the people say, get that guy out of our country. Yeah. But Democrats are fighting for this guy to come back to our country because they're saying his due process rights were being violated, that he did not get a court case. And I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a minute. When was the last time you had a illegal alien get a court case? If you're right, if you've been told to leave the country and you don't leave the country, they come pick you up and you leave the country. And that's what happened to this guy right here. And so is this an issue, Pastor Tommy, that Democrats? Do you think I should say Democrats are going to die on this hill of this illegal guy?
Yeah, I think so because it leads to nowhere. Mm-hmm. You know, you have 2 presidents that says he's not coming back, and if he comes back, he's going back. Mm-hmm. There's no due process. He stood in front of 2 judges already. So due process of law. I mean, what are you gonna say? Okay, he's guilty. He's MS-13. Send him back. And so now we just pay for him to fly here to be able to go to be sent back. It doesn't make any sense.
I don't. It seems to me, so you've got paper and pencil, right? I got paper and pencil here someplace. Okay, all right. Over the last year, last 4 years, last 7 years, last 100 years, Democrats have been on the wrong side of any number of issues, but really a lot of them in the last number of years here right now. And one has been this whole immigration thing. Okay, immigration, they've been wrong. They busted wide open the floodgates, and they let in 10-20 million people into this country. Okay, immigration. So the immigration's one. The economy, DEI. Give me a couple more things that you think Democrats have been or that they've just been wrong
on. Bankrupting this country, just spending like crazy, on stuff that doesn't benefit anybody but them.
Yeah,
that's the biggest one, and we have an economy issue because of that.
Yeah. How about the LGBTQ plus thing, where they're saying, "Oh, guys, guess what? Because you know what they did last year on Sunday? Instead of celebrating Easter, they said National Day of Gay Visibility or something like that. That's what they celebrated from the White House on the holiest day, the first holiest day on the Christian calendar. And they I'm thinking to myself, what is wrong with you? This is in God we trust, right? This is
Right.
not in what you think you are, you know, this week because, here's the problem we have that I see is that you've got a sect of America, and I'm going to be teaching on this tomorrow, so I'm going to be really talking about, I would call it lifestyle Christianity. And I know there's a guy who's got a ministry called Lifestyle Christianity, but I don't think it's. But I've been teaching on this for like the last 7 weeks. So we're talking about in this last installment, we're talking about the culture and government and what our mandate as Christians has been in the Bible. And so, Pastor Tommy, I want you to join me in this thought process here. Genesis chapter 1, the Lord put down a set of mandates for man, Adam and Eve, to do. And he says, be fruitful and multiply and have dominion. Over the earth, right? And that word dominion means to overtake it, to rule it.
Overtake
okay?
it. Mm-hmm.
Right? So what is the purpose of government? What is there's one that is basically for civil order, but what's the other thing that government is supposed to do biblically?
New Testament or Old Testament? I think it's slightly different in the New Testament since Christ got here, but
Okay.
it is supposed to establish, according to Romans 13, they are there to establish the rule, actually.
Okay.
And that's why he tells us to submit to the authorities,
Mm-hmm.
right? And because they're there as a how does it word it?
Mm-hmm.
Not for the righteous, but for the unrighteous,
Okay.
right? And so government has a responsibility to actually be godly, and if they're not, that's when we come in.
Well,
That's when we come in.
Mm-hmm. So
Go ahead.
So under a theocracy, which are we supposed to be under a theocracy, or are we supposed to be under man's law at this point? In our original intent, the original intent of God was for us to be under a theocracy, right? We're supposed to. Old Testament man goes, no, I think we want to have just a regular old. We want to be like everybody else. But God's original intent was for us to have a theocracy. And so the rule of government was to continue to tell everybody about him and his rules and the way he wants to go, right? And over the years, we've just kind of let it go and let it go and let it go until now we're at where we're at in history, where the government is run by a bunch of men who are just saying, I don't care. What do you want to do today? Yeah, what do you think sounds good today? Oh, what do you think? Are you going to give me some money? Let me give you some money.
Yeah.
And so Christians have allowed and sometimes fought to make government less of a theocracy and more of a democracy. And sometimes it's a socialist thing or whatever it has become. I think that is our biggest problem. Is that we've allowed our the original intent of what God wanted for man to go down the tubes.
Yep. That's why it's time for us to literally right now to step up with one prayer and begin to operate in the gifts and the callings that we have. Because if you look at, let's just take the fivefold ministry, the prophet, apostle, pastor, evangelist, and teacher. Those all work together. It's not like one is higher than the other. They all work together for the government of the kingdom.
Yeah.
Right? And so there's spiritual laws that we need to all hold each other accountable for. So if the government isn't doing that, then we need to step in and take our rightful place to make sure that these things happen, whether it's, like you said, influence, in the political arena, a prayer, teaching young people, these principles. And that's where we are right now. it's funny you bring this up because
Mm.
just 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
I had the mindset of repenting.
Mm.
And most people think repenting means to ask for forgiveness. No, repenting means to change your mind, to turn your direction. And I have not taken my rightful authority. I have not been walking in my true gift and calling that
Mm.
God has sent me here to Las Vegas for. I haven't made the influence, the impact that I have been called to make. And I'm doing that now. I'm getting God's mindset, the spiritual understanding, which most of the church is lacking is spiritual understanding. They got
Mm.
carnal understanding,
Oh yeah.
but they don't have spiritual understanding. So we all need to begin to work together so that we can take our rightful place and quell this foolishness as much as possible.
Yeah, I think you are right. I think we've abdicated our position, and 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 I mean, it happened a long time before us. I mean, we're not the cause
Right.
of it, right? So we don't. I don't
Right.
want to put that on us, guys. It wasn't us. It wasn't me. Okay, um, but we saw this happen. In what First Kings? No, it actually before that Judges. I mean, it happened a long time before us. Okay,
Yeah.
um, where the people said, you know what, we want a king. We want to be just like all the other nations. And the Lord said, this is what's going to happen. This is exactly what's going to happen. And sure enough, that's where we're at right now. I still don't think that it negates God's still mandate on us.
Right.
I don't think it does because He didn't say, okay, that's just the way it's going to be forever. He didn't say that. Okay?
Right.
He says, guess what? This is what's going to happen. I'm going to show you. And God's funny that way. God will show you. And they'll go, okay, here's that rope. And just
Yep.
you go out there and you hang yourself, right? And that's you're just kind of um but I know God's intent is that at some point we come to the realization that His way is the right way. There is a one thing I did see in the news, which is very cool, is that President Trump, because many people ask if President Trump is born again or anything like that, and he came out with a pretty full-throated endorsement over the weekend. I don't know if you heard this. I wish I had the sound for it right now. But he basically says, we're going to bring religion back to America. We're going to bring Jesus back to America. And people went, what? What is he saying? We're going to bring back Jesus back to America. And there's been let me ask you a question, Pastor Tommy. Have you seen a decline, maybe a reticence, a pulling back of people declaring a full-throated endorsement of their Christian beliefs in public?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
Yes, yes, yes. And just to kind of piggyback off of what you just said,
Mm.
I really truly believe that God selected President Trump because of that one reason.
Mm.
This is our time to repent. This is a reprieve
Mm.
so that we can get the country back on track so it's not judged, to the level that it deserves to be judged. And
Mm.
for him to come out and say these things, that should be a conviction in our heart as believers to step up and not be silent anymore and not, hold back like I was holding back. I'm not holding back anymore, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and and I think a part of it is because so much liberality has come. I think the believer felt smothered a little bit.
Mm.
They felt like intimidated, and we should never be intimidated because all authority that was given to Christ, He gave to us, right? And so
I
we have the
know.
victory.
We've got the victory, right? And I think we've been fooled, right? We've been fooled all these years into believing that we have no power, that we've got no,
Yep.
that nothing good is going to come up. So I'm gonna detour here just for a second here. Go back to what we were saying before. I was talking about this new church we're going to be going into, the new facility and stuff like that. And when we first approached the school that we're going to be going into, we approached them a year ago and said, "Hey, would you consider us coming into the church or moving our church into the school?" And the principal of the school is a friend of mine, and he is actually he was a youth pastor, And he goes, sure, not a problem. Come on in. And we had some, and we're very small, had no money. And when the requirements were here, our wallet was here. Okay. And so now a year later, we've been able to get a little bit of a little bit of money. We've gotten all the stuff we need, literally cameras, lights, microphones, all that other stuff. And we've used all of the money that we brought in tithes and offerings and put it back into buying all the stuff we need. Okay, so now this year is going to be the year we're going to be looking for a new place to have our church. And so I'm driving around, my wife and I are driving around thinking, we'll find a place, still haven't found a place. And the Lord speaks to me and he goes, hey, well, what about that school that you guys were thinking about? And I went, so here's the deal. Our school is being torn down and a new one is being built. Okay? The school I'm in right now is going to be torn down in a couple months. But they've been building a new school for almost a year now. Okay? And I thought, they're not going to let us go to that new school. There's no way. There's just no way. That's a brand new school, and I can't imagine it's going to be too expensive or something like that. So a couple of weeks ago, I'm walking across the, open area in the school, and the principal comes walking up to me, and we talk, and I've probably told you this story before, but I'll bears repeating. And he walks up to me and he goes, hey, Sherman, guess what? The new school is going to be open pretty soon, and it's got this new theater, and it's got this, and it's got that, and oh, it's going to be wonderful. What a great place for your church. And I went, what? I was dumbfounded. I was not just surprised, I was dumbfounded. I couldn't speak because my wife and I just were talking about that 2 weeks earlier. We'd been walking around, we've been talking about it, and I dismissed the whole idea. Okay, so the reason why I bring that all up is because we as Christians believe that we're not worthy, that God doesn't work on that kind of scale, that God does not still move mountains. Guess what he's been doing for an entire year for us? He's been getting us ready for a new school. He's been preparing but he had to get the school ready for us to go in. So he'd been preparing all this behind the scenes, and we didn't even know it. And as a matter of fact, I had dismissed the idea out of hand. I said, no, that's not going to happen. Not going to. Literally, the Lord had to come up and go, no, this is for you. As a matter of fact, the principal came up again to me today, and he goes, hey, you haven't reserved that place. I've got the place for you. It's yours. I'm going to refuse to have anybody else in the place. This is your place. And he told me that today, literally 3 hours ago.
So,
go for it.
I was just going to say, when God does divine things like that, it's bigger than what you have in your mind. And we have to realize that we are here to take territories and lands. That's why I said it's important for you to go and walk around that school and pray over it, because that school is there for the school, but more importantly, God set that up. He set it up for you and for you to have ministry there. So the kingdom is advancing by taking land. That's what Joshua was all about. And the people who weren't willing to take the land, what happened to them?
Come on, this is it. I know. I actually had people who were going, no, we shouldn't do it. I went, I'm done listening to other people. I'm so done.
Yes.
I'm listening to God. I'm not listening to you, man, because if it's up to you, we'd still be, in my house, right?
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, he's got some things prepared that's bigger than we can even imagine.
Yeah. I'm thoroughly convinced of it. And as far as government goes, as far as what's going on here in our with our federal government, is that there's a lot of people who should be running for office. There's a lot of Christians who are kind of going, well, I'll just let somebody else do it. I'll just wait till Jesus comes back. And it's like, maybe that office was for you. God gave you the intellect. God gave you this. He gave you all these things, and you're going to sit in your house and just wait till the second coming comes, and then you go, okay, I made it, I'm good. Okay, when you could have affected so many people.
Yes.
I know some people are watching this broadcast, and I just want to reiterate, we are on our, we've got our YouTube channel up and rolling. Matter of fact, we're pasting this on social media that you can actually check out the show right now. You can get in on the conversation. We'd love to have you in on the conversation. If you'd like to write to us, just write to us at christandcultureshow@gmail.com. It's christandcultureshow@gmail.com. You can also, we'll actually upload this video, and we've not done it in the last couple of weeks. I want to apologize. It's gotten so busy over the Easter weekend and all the other weekends that we've had. We'll have this up on Godstream TV. Very excited about that also. But definitely get in on the conversation. If you'd like to write to Pastor Tommy personally, Pastor Tommy, I know folks want to get a hold of you personally. How can they get a hold of you?
My email address is flamingwordlv@gmail.com.
flamingwordlv@gmail.com. You know, there was another story that I just got to get to. So China, okay, let's talk about China just a little bit, because China's in the news. I think people are starting to really get a sense of where this is going to. The Trump administration is going around negotiating tariffs with all these nations. Over the last couple of weeks, President Trump, we brought this up in a couple of shows ago, has basically put the world on notice, saying that America is open for business, but you've got to begin to level the playing field. I downloaded a diagram that showed how much we are paying in tariffs to all these other countries. And America is virtually an open market where we don't have tariffs. We just, hey, we want to buy your stuff, go ahead and come and sell it. Well, the Trump administration has basically said, we're done with that because we've lost manufacturing. We don't even make our own drugs. We don't make our own cars. We don't make anything in America. We've got to stop doing that. It's just not. And China is the only country right now, it's the lone holdout around the world, who's basically saying, and they're saying to the rest of the world, do not negotiate with America. So I'm going to pull up this story here, but this is actually pretty cool. This is actually the Hill story, and it's in every place. But according to the Hill, China warned other countries against striking any new trade deals with the United States that might come at the expense of Beijing's economic interests. And here's the thing about it. If it were not for America, the Chinese would be speaking Japanese right now, or they might be speaking German. They would definitely not be speaking Chinese anymore, okay? Because America came in and saved everybody's butts in WW2, WW1. Any war, America's come in. So what do you think about the Chinese government warning all these other countries, saying, hey, don't play ball with America. We're good enough for everybody.
You know, it's like the two kids that are best friends on the playground, and then all of a sudden they have an argument, and one kid goes, "Don't be that guy's friend. Don't be that guy's friend." You know, that's basically what it is. You know, we have gotten the short end of the stick for so long, let it ride, and now we got a president that says no more, no more. And most countries in their right mind are going, you know what? He's right. Let's make a deal, because I don't want these tariffs, and I don't want something else to happen. Let's make a deal. But you know, we have China now just basically saying, nope, we're not giving in. You give us tariffs, here's some reciprocal tariffs. You know, on top of the reciprocal. And see, that's what a lot of the media doesn't catch. That President Trump isn't instituting tariffs, he's instituting reciprocal tariffs. That means that he's trying to level the playing field, because we're being charged tariffs, but we haven't been charging anybody tariffs.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and just like you said, I think China, if all these other countries that China is trying to do business with actually gets a deal made with the United States, they're going to have to do something. Yeah. They're going to have to make a deal. Period.
Yeah, they're going to have to. They're going to have to make a deal. And here's and so it's generally, somebody said, don't be the last one to the negotiating table, right? You don't want to be the last guy, okay? You want to be the first guy in there saying, hey, hey, I'm your best friend, I'm your best buddy. Come on, what's up, right? As opposed to the last guy that comes in and says, hey, I'm reluctantly coming in to try to do a deal. And China, here's the deal with China, though. China exports to everybody, okay? Any cheap knockoff thing. I'm going to look at something here. Where's this made from? I got this thing right here. And I got this thing. And I got this thing.
Just
and I got this.
anything.
Anything, it's made in China, right? Which means, guess what? We are China's biggest customer,
Importer.
right? Mm-hmm. Okay? We import stuff, okay? And all of their iPhones, all the iPhones that are made in China are made in America, or 40%. So let's say that America decides, we're just going to find somebody else to make all these iPhones. Or Nikes. Mm-hmm. Oh, your Nike shoes. Here's a good one. Nike shoes. 40% of the Nike shoes are made in China. What if we decide, let's make them all in Haiti now?
Yeah.
Haiti can make them. Yep. Haiti would love to make them. As a matter of fact, why don't we take all of our business back, systematically, of course, let's take it all back from you. Because we made you, China. There was a time when Americans would never buy anything from China. Ever.
Yep, I remember.
Right? It was made in China, which means it was crap. You don't.
Yep.
Guess what? Things have not changed. Just Americans go, oh, we got too much money now. I got money coming out of my shirt. So I will buy the cheap stuff because I can buy another one. Okay, it's so cheap. But now China's gotten to the point where they're cocky. They're cocky, and I think they're in way over their heads. What would you suggest to China, Pastor Rami? If you were, going to go see Xi and some of these heads of China, what would you tell these folks about their stance against America?
Take the deal. Figure out a way around it instead of trying to buck up, to the big dog. Mm-hmm. And that's basically what it is. You got one alpha and you got one wannabe alpha or one trying to be alpha that's not alpha yet. Mm-hmm. Hey, get close to the alpha.
Yeah, sure.
Take the deal.
Take the deal, G. Maybe that should be like a hashtag. Take the deal, G. Right? I'm gonna write. Oh yeah, there take the deal. I'm pulling. It's a take the deal, G. Because you know what? It'd be different if he had all the cards. America put themselves in a really bad position, right? We put ourselves in a bad position because we allowed China to make all of our stuff. Okay, it's cheap labor. Okay, we needed somebody to make all of our stuff. We used to send them all of our plastic, right?
Yep.
All the plastic, right? They're islands, floating islands of all this stuff, right? And we would say, and now China, guess what? They won't take that plastic. They go, no, we don't take that stuff anymore. You find somebody else to take all your plastic, right? And now that's us. So why don't we find someone else in our hemisphere, right? Latin America, right? We could do it to Uruguay. We could do it in Guatemala. Any of these countries that are down south of us, and say, oh, guys, guess what? We're going to help you become rich in America.
Yeah.
And right?
Haiti. That was a great idea.
I think Haiti's it's full of all kinds of resources, right?
Yep.
Right? They would take the jobs in a second, man. In a second.
Yes, they would.
Yeah. Okay. Or we could all just start once again, a hashtag that says, take the deal, G.
Take the deal.
Take the deal, G. My gosh. I would take the deal, right? My gosh. So China's threatening these guys. Are trying to cut deals. Okay, so that's just kind of way. So did you hear about Christ&Culture? I know you probably. I don't know if you saw
about
this.
About her wallet being stolen.
This is crazy. Okay,
that doesn't make sense.
How does that happen? She's got in her wallet. She got her wallet, ID, $3,000 she's got in that thing, right? And she says, "Hey, guess what? I was going to take some friends and family out, and somebody steals." How did they get to her? I can't believe this. This is going to be
Wasn't it
crazy.
under the table? Wasn't her purse like under the table?
It's in somebody's back of their car right now. Is where it's at, man. My gosh.
And they got the
Um,
guy on camera. That's crazy.
did they? I didn't see that.
Yeah, they saw him on camera.
Okay.
He was a white guy with a mask. But how come? Where was Secret Service?
Yeah, she's Homeland Security, right? She's supposed to have a couple of folks around her, right?
She's
Um,
Homeland what?
yeah.
Security, right?
She's security. She's the head, right? She's my God, Christy. My gosh, it's like so that tells you even Homeland Security can get it. So this story, I didn't send you the story, Pastor Tommy, but this the Supreme Court is taking up a religious rights dispute over LGBTQ books in Maryland schools. I'm going to read this to you and get your reaction to this. This is a Breitbart story, but I was actually running this morning. The Supreme Court is hearing arguments over the religious rights of parents in Maryland to remove their children from elementary school classes using storybooks with LGBTQ characters. Now, this is a horrible story. AP story: the Supreme Court is hearing these arguments today. These books. The case is the latest dispute involving religion to come before the conservative-led court. The justices have repeatedly endorsed claims of religious discrimination in recent years. The Montgomery County Schools in suburban Washington, D.C. introduced the storybooks as part of an effort to better reflect the district's diverse population. Really? Okay. Parents sued after the school system stopped allowing them to pull their kids from the lessons that included the books. The parents argue that public schools cannot force kids to participate in instruction that violates their faith. And they pointed to the opt-out provisions in sex education classes. So here's what is going on. And I'll roll it back and put a bow on it. There are books being introduced by the school district. Parents say, "Hey, I don't want my kids going to it." And the school's going, "Well, we want your kids to see them because it reflects our diverse nature." And they go, "Well, we don't want our kids to see this. And so we are going to sue you because you're making my kid see this because you won't let my kid opt out of this." And the school district's going, "Well, it would just be too much of a burden to have all of you kids go." Most of the parents don't want their kids seeing this stuff. And they're getting so many complaints about this that they're going, "Well, there's too many of you parents, and it's just a handful." So the Supreme Court's going to get in on this. I'm seeing that the Supreme Court is getting a lot of these cases. Pastor Tommy, what do you think about parents' rights to be able to have their kids opt out of these? Now, this is for kids 3 years of age. These are little kids. These are not big kids who even understand what the word lesbian or gay might be. These are 3-year-old kids. What do you think the school district is actually trying to do by forcing these parents to not be able to opt out of these?
They're trying to expose the kids because once you expose a kid to something,
Mm-hmm.
they don't forget. They're pushing confusion. I remember when I was in school and seventh, eighth, ninth grade, somewhere around there
Mm-hmm.
was sex education. And I had to bring a slip home from school to have my mom sign it if I was going to be able to participate in that class.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if my mom didn't sign it, I didn't take the class. My mom
Yep.
signed it.
Yep.
So what happened to that?
Mm-hmm.
Giving the parents right. And it had nothing to do with religion at that point. It was just like ethical.
Sure.
Let's talk about ethical.
Sure.
And now you're talking about 3-year-old kids.
3-year-old
That
kids.
is, that's beyond bizarre.
This is a story. So let me ask you. You got a small child. Schools allowing the children to opt out of lessons because it has become disruptive. Lower courts backed the schools, prompting the parents to appeal to the Supreme Court. So the lower court said Oh no, you're disrupting our kids because so many kids do not want their parents don't want your kids seeing this. They were opting out of the school, so you didn't. I mean, you got 3 or 4 kids. Parents go, oh yeah, go and let 'em." All right, this is the story. The story is in Prince and Knight. The one of the stories is called Prince and Knight. Two men fall in love after they rescue, gosh, after they rescue the kingdom and each other. In Uncle Bobby's wedding, a niece worries that her uncle will now have as much time will not have as much time for her after he gets married. His partner's a man. So there are a series of books that they're trying to introduce these kids to, which do they teach the kids how to read and write? No, it has nothing to do with reading and writing. When I was a kid, you know what we read? See Dick and Jane, see Spot. See
Yep.
Spot run. Spot
Yep.
runs
Yep.
up the hill,
Yep.
down the hill. You learned how
Yep.
to read, okay? Had nothing
Yep.
to do with Jim and Hank are getting married now, and you know, this is like you know what they call this? What we used to call this? Indoctrination.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. I read those same books, See Spot Run.
Mm-hmm.
uh, and and all my kids were reading by the age of 4.
Okay.
That's because we taught them how to read. We didn't wait till they were 5.
Mm-hmm.
We started reading to them when they were infants,
Mm-hmm.
and we sang the ABC song even when they didn't have the conception to realize what was being. But by the time they were old enough to talk, they knew the song.
Yeah. Sure.
So my point is this: if you teach a kid something, he's going to learn it. And
Sure will.
these heads know that
Yep.
what most parents don't know, that if you teach a kid, he's going to learn whatever it is that you teach him. I have
Sure.
some young parents that come to me all the time and they say, my kid's not doing this. And I say, well, did you teach your kid how to do that? No, I told him how to. No, you have to teach them.
Teach them.
And so
Sure.
they understand, these heads understand that if you teach the kid, if you read these indoctrination things to them, they're going to grab onto it and they won't let it go because that's the first thing that they've learned.
You better believe it. Yeah. I just progressivism. I think this goes back to what they call progressivism. They don't expect to get the whole thing. Okay. They don't get to have
Right.
your kid fully being molested by an adult male. They don't get that. They're going to say, but we can teach your kid it's all right if 2 men
Yep.
love each other. It's
Yep.
okay if 2 women love each other, and they if you can get the kids to start leaning that way by the time they're old enough, now you've got a kid that's just so susceptible. In the old days, we call it grooming, and you used to be able to go to you would go to jail for this. I mean,
Yep.
can you imagine some pedophile now goes through and he starts going, "Hey, gay little boy, little girl, can I just have some candy?" And he's nice to you, and he keeps doing. People will see it and they go, "Wait a minute, you're grooming my kid. You're grooming my kid so that you can molest my kid." All this is now is it's legalized grooming of kids, and
Yeah.
I think it should be outlawed. But for some
It
reason,
should be.
you've got district courts that are going, "No, you're good. Yeah, you're fine. It's a school. How bad could it be? It's a school." Uh, no, I don't think so. Pastor Tommy, have you now? I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but I know I have about starting a Christian school or a charter
Yes.
school because
Yeah. You,
your child's in
you
charter school,
mentioned that.
correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's crazy. We have to do something to protect these kids. This is why I homeschool. This is
Hmm.
because I wanted to protect my kids. I can't protect everybody else's kids,
Sure.
but to set an example, and because of that, and more recently now, when I first started, aren't you scared that your kids are not going to be able to adjust and socialize? What teenagers now that socializes? They don't go outside and play. All my kids are outgoing. They're not afraid to talk to grown-ups. You know, um, it's funny how things change. But people are coming to me asking me about homeschooling
Oh,
because I've done it for so long, and
yeah.
so people are starting to wake up a little bit.
Well, if you've ever met Pastor Tommy's daughter, she is a gem. Everybody who meets her, they go, "I love that kid. I want that kid for my. I want a kid just like that for my. If I could have another kid, other than my kids, I would love a child like yours. She's a gem." Anyways, we've run long here. We're going to run a little long. Pastor Tommy, once again, thank you so much for being a part of the broadcast today. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. This is going to be first weekend after Easter, and I hope your church is overflowing and many, many people get saved today.
Okay? We're going to be in Dallas.
Oh, you're going to be in Dallas. Okay.
Yes.
Well, have a great trip. Have a fun trip, okay?
Yes,
all right.
Yes, thank you.
All right. We'll see you when we get back, okay?
All right. God bless.
God bless you too. Bye-bye. And folks, once again, thank you once again for being a part of the broadcast. So much is going around. I mean, there's so many other stories we could have gotten into today, but it's just too much. It's just so much going on. Once again, we'll try to get the show up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts as quick as we can. But there's been so much going on over the last couple of days, but we'll try our best. If you'd like to write to us, go ahead and write to us at christandcultureshow@gmail.com. That's christandcultureshow.com. Or you can check us out on Godstream TV. Okay? Godstream TV. Okay? Anyways, this has been Pastor Sherman Ray for Christ and Culture. Thank you once again for being a part of the broadcast, you guys. We will see you again next week for more Christ and Culture. Have a nice one. Bye-bye.